obviously learned to eat a salad. Some of those pictures. This was supposed to be alphabetical. Last time I saw, after A, there's C, then L, and M, but I guess they wanted me to bring down the house, but since that happened about 8 o'clock, Nancy and Danielle, thank you for the wonderful video and all the work that you put into it, especially you, Danielle. I'm not Dad. She calls me Daddy all the time. I am humbled by this induction, and I've been told by many people over the months and years that they appreciate Nancy's and my efforts for the sport of wrestling in both Danbury and throughout Connecticut. I also want to congratulate the other inductees for their great accomplishments and contributions to our sport. I would also like to thank everyone that has come this evening, and especially the people who have come on my behalf. I really appreciate it. Nancy, I love you and appreciate all the time we spent together. We do work well as a team, whether we are running a tournament or putting on an officials clinic for the high school wrestlers or raising 3 wonderful children. Without your love and support, it would not be possible. This is as much your award as mine. I thank my dad, who is here tonight, and my mom, who passed away 11 years ago, for their love and support while growing up and teaching me about hard work and giving back to your fellow person. I want to thank Ricky Shook, Danbury High's great wrestling coach and Hall of Fame inductee, who nominated me. In addition, I want to thank Dave Canute, USA Wrestling's kid director, Brian Lishness, the estate director, Sarah Jadek, who's our state chairperson from USA Wrestling, and Jeff Mara for their inspiring and wonderful letters of recommendation to the Hall of Fame committee. I also want to congratulate Ricky Shook and the Danbury Wrestling Program, which has just been inducted into the Danbury Hall of Fame as a program. October 21st at the Amber Room, Danbury, be there. Thank you to Danbury Youth Wrestling, its board members, especially Sue Hulse, Mike Iaquinto, Sue Jack, and Nancy. I appreciate the support of the Danbury Youth Wrestling parents, and as well, the great parents throughout the state. Many are here tonight that help us on the USA Wrestling level. Special thanks to my children and extended family, the Batnellis, Antonellis, and Master Lucas. It used to be ABC, but then Master Lucas were there too. So, especially for their love and support this evening. Wrestling is weaved into our whole family's lives. Almost all of my nephews have wrestled. My son had a great career in wrestling. However, I am most proud of the fact that he is currently the head wrestling coach at Bridgewater State University in Massachusetts. If you know any wrestlers that are good and want to go there, Frank could use recruits. Nancy, Danielle, and Christina, my daughters, run many tournaments, which include the Kids States and qualifiers for USA Wrestling. My brother-in-law, Mike Batnelli, is on the USA Wrestling Connecticut board and helps organize and support Stanford Junior Wrestling and UConn's wrestling program. With his wife, Roseanne, Nancy's sister, I am very proud and appreciative of all the love and support we get from this wonderful family. I want to thank Leo and Ricardo Lopes for joining our family and getting us into wrestling back in 1994. When my son started wrestling in the Danbury Youth Program, it was peer pressure, positive peer pressure from Nicky Wire and Jeff Mara at a Pop Warner game. Thanks, Nick and Jeff. Frank's first in-house coaches were Brian Hayes and Jim McKeever. Brian I know is here tonight. Dennis Stone Sr. was his travel coach. Little did we know what travel meant. We ended up in Columbus, Ohio, and I was Dennis' special helper at the Tournament of Champions. Thanks, Dennis. He's my assistant coach now, and I really am glad he came back to help. Then Danbury and my wrestling world changed. A young man by the name of Gino Frank came to town and taught the Mills Half Nelson series, which is pretty well known around the state now. and many other new techniques, which included freestyle and Greco-Roman styles. We expanded our travel schedule, and we were drawn into spring wrestling by Gino. Then Gino moved back to Pennsylvania, and I offered to Ricky to do middle school coaching if no one else stepped up. We were at football practice that night. I'll never forget it. Dennis Stone turns to me and he goes, "You realize he just stopped looking." I am so thankful for what Gino did for our family and the group of wrestlers he left for me to coach. I had studs like Matt Tricarico, Nicky Wire, Will Esposito, Jeff Mara, my son Frank. Ricky Shook called me up and told me there's a kid that moved into my neighborhood. Kyle Rogers became one of my son's best friends. I recruited a few judo players, one being Jeff Esposti, my son's college teammate, with Timmy Ferreira up at Bridgewater State. We got a few good sixth graders in, Tyler Howard, Richie Chucky, and Joe LaDuca. What a middle school team that was. All of these wrestlers were either New England champions, New England finalists, Open champions, Open finalists, or top 4 in the Opens. And I think every one of the young men that I just read were double L champs. I still have the pleasure of coaching many great wrestlers. Several are here tonight. Am I right, Liam and AJ? And Joey. I'm talking about middle school now. Next, I met Mike Quibble. Mike wanted to relaunch USA Wrestling in Connecticut. He asked that I get involved and help improve our sport. Mike is a great friend and was the person that got both USA Wrestling back in Connecticut and started the chapter as Teddy, the chapter of National Wrestling Hall of Fame for Connecticut, as Teddy mentioned earlier. I have also met so many wonderful people that support the sport of wrestling in Connecticut. We grew the membership from 1,900 to over 3,000 wrestlers. People that work so hard and have done so much for our sport I need to recognize. Sarah Jadek, as I mentioned before, our state chairperson. Her wonderful parents, Buster, who's a Hall of Fame inductee, and her mom, Carol. Dave Canute, our kids director. Brian Lishness, our state director. Brian Onofrio, Tom Johnson, our directors also. John and Jude Knapp, TJ Silva, and Jeff Hernandez are all on the USA Wrestling board. We had Adrian Gonzalez is on the board, and maybe CJ will join too. Thanks to Brian Reardon, who initiated and developed a system in which we trained high school wrestlers to officiate Sunday tournaments for our youth wrestling tournaments, which I now run. We developed a state qualifier system in 4 locations the day after the high school class championships, and a kids state championships at the Hill House the day after the high school opens. Our Bristol friends, Dave Thompson and Brian Lishness, were the architects of this idea, which we use to this day. We started to do large national teams. Do you know that this past weekend, we had 3 Connecticut wrestlers, or Team Connecticut wrestlers, that competed in the Olympic trials this last week. Ricky Perry from Middletown lost to Kyle Dake in the quarters. Elena Pekarskova from our 2004 and 2006 national teams became an Olympian for the 2nd time. Elena has been a world champion, a bronze medalist, and a silver medalist. She beat another Team Connecticut member during the trials this last weekend, Aaron Klodko. Roger Shaw, who is here tonight celebrating his daughter's wonderful career, was the women's director who organized and got these young women to go to Fargo with Steph and many other wonderful young women. These national teams are part of why Connecticut wrestling is getting better. We have produced some great wrestlers that placed All-Americans, many runner-ups, and several national champions. The first year I organized one of these trips was 2004, and in 2005, at the New Englands, we had 10 New England finalists with 4 champions. This past season, 2016, we had 14 finalists with 9 champions. 8 of these top 11 teams were competitive. This New England championship was amazing. Sarah and I were talking about it. It was like Christmas morning. Unbelievable. would like to thank Chris McGrath for coming out from Stillwater. I would like to thank Teddy O and the entire National Wrestling Hall of Fame Chapter Board, which I have the honor to serve with, for their confidence to induct me, for their hard work in putting on such a wonderful event. Teddy, you're a great leader, and you put on a first-class event that even Mike Quibble might agree is a great event. I would like to thank former wrestlers that I know who serve in our armed forces for their service to our country and pray for their safety. The Army National Guard Lieutenant Colonel Mike Morris Jr., who was honored tonight, Dennis Stone Jr., U.S. Army Lieutenant Charlie Costanzo. The next ones I'm going to read are United States Marine Corps. Captain Kyle Rogers, Ryan Peterson, my nephew Scott Cammisa, Will Mills, Brian Onofrio Jr. I'd like to also thank U.S. Coast Guard Brennan Harris, U.S. Air Force Jimmy Patton. I also want to thank police officers that I know are here tonight, Mike Gallo Quinto and Brian Hayes, for their service to Danbury community and others that I may have missed this evening. Thanks for your attention and recognition of my efforts in the sport of wrestling. Safe trip home tonight, and God bless you all.
Standing for the sponsorship. Please take it into the